What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so before I get into this video, shout out to the man, the myth, the legend, the brother Robert Mason coming through with the $50 donation via the PayPal. Salute to you for showing love once again to Too Raw for TV. All right, so the other day when Jokic had the the 55-point game, I think it was. I see a lot of people who went on about his performance, which is crazy because there have been, 5 or 6 50-point games already this year. Shea scored 55, and I barely heard a blip as far as reaction to it. But, I saw some people, when we bring up some of the other great passing big men in history, like Chris Webber, and then we brought up Bill Walton. People said, oh, he was a bum. His stats are terrible. He didn't play against anybody, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right? And they don't take into account that Bill Walton's career was ruined by injuries. Absolutely ruined by injuries. He probably had the most injury-plagued career in NBA history. Although Kawhi Leonard definitely wants to come for that spot. Bill Walton missed 680 games in his NBA career and played in like 468. So that goes to show you, this guy just could not stay healthy. He had 38 surgeries in his lifetime, primarily dealing with his feet, ankles, or back. He missed full seasons, but this was not low managing. This is a guy whose body betrayed him. His body betrayed him and caused him to lose what should have been one of the great careers in NBA history. Now, his collegiate career, on top of some of the awards and accomplishments that he was able to achieve during his brief prime and brief comeback, it put him in the Hall of Fame. But this is a guy that should have been a top 5, probably top 5 to 7 all-time center. In my opinion, to be honest with you, all around, at his peak, I think Bill Walton was better than Jokic. And I know people are going to look at Jokic's stats and say I'm absolutely losing my mind saying something like that. But see, Bill Walton was taught and coached by John Wooden, right? And, he was a guy who was totally unselfish. He was totally about team. And if Bill Walton played in today's era and if he was more undisciplined and, he was more about augmenting his stats, he could have done that. But Bill Walton played in an era where centers were supposed to play like centers. Centers were not supposed to be facilitators. Centers were supposed to get the basketball. When they get it, generally they're like black holes. You don't get it back unless, they get doubled or they kick it back out. Other than that, their job is to score in the post, block shots, rebound, protect the rim, protect the paint, etc. That was their role. That's always been the center's role. Was the first center to challenge that. Because not only did he do all those other things very well, score efficiently in the post, rebound at a high rate, offensive rebounding, defensive rebounding, block shots, rim protection, elite defender, but he also was a great passer. Now, was he as prolific a passer as Jokic? Was he able to put up the numbers that Jokic really put up? No. Did he even have some of the degree of difficulty passes that Jokic had? No. Was he able to shoot from outside like Jokic? No. Even though there was no three-point line, but I would say no. But when it comes to rebounding, I would give Walton the edge. When it comes to defense, Walton has a tremendous lead. I mean, it's not even close between him and Jokic on that end of the floor. When it comes to scoring points a game, but Jokic has the basketball in his hands all the time. Bill Walton would average 18 to 20 in his prime, but he could have averaged more. But the most important part of this is Bill Walton, in his much too brief prime, 1976, 77, 78. In his brief prime, he was the best player in the NBA. And that's saying a lot, considering that he was playing in a league that had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He was playing a league that had, playing in a league that had Julius Erving, playing in a league that had George Iceman Gervin and David Thompson and Artis Gilon, who was just starting to come into his own. He was playing in a league with Big Bob Lanier and Wes Unseld and Elvin Hayes. He was playing in the league with Jack Sigma and Sam Lacey. He was playing in the league with Dave Cowens. So the fact that he was able to win a championship while thwarting Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in the Western Conference Finals, while upsetting that great, that's another thing. Bill Walton was not playing on the super team. You know, I think his best teammate was probably I think his best teammate was probably I'm trying to think of his teammates. Bob Gross. You know, he didn't have a great team around him. He had solid players, but not Hall of Famers. Probably the best teammate he had was the enforcer, whose name eludes me right now, the mustache. Everybody else was pretty much role players. Good role players, but role players. But Bill Walton was elevating everybody on that floor. So much so that during the 1977-78 season, Bill Walton won an MVP while only playing in 58 games. And the reason why he won it is because in the 60 games that the Portland Trailblazers played in, 58, Bill Walton played in 58 or 60 games. Those first 60 games, they were champions. And they looked like they were going to repeat. They're going to be the only repeat team in the 70s. When Bill Walton broke his foot in the 60th game of that season. And afterwards, without Bill Walton, Portland was looked like a dynasty club, would go 8-14 the rest of the way. I think they got knocked out in the second round of playoffs. And Bill Walton never played another game for Portland. He's one of the greatest what-ifs of all time. But to give you an idea of what type of numbers he was putting up in his prime, Bill Walton was good for 20 points a night, about 14 rebounds a game, about 3 to 4 block shots a game, about 4 or 5 assists. Considering that point guards were the ones who were the real floor generals back then, we had real positional basketball, and point guards were the ones who run the show, not necessarily centers. The fact that Bill Walton was able to even break the mold and facilitate to the degree that he did, pass at the higher elite level he was able to pass as a big man, 6'11", 235 pounds. It's amazing. Two-time Defensive Player of the Year winner. I believe he led the league in rebounding 1 year. I believe he led the league in blocks in 1 year. At his apex, he was briefly the best player in the game, man, and he's one of the top 2 college players of all time. And when people look at Bill Walton, they look at the 6,243 points he scored and say, wow, man, this guy only had 6,000. Well, those to say, wow, Bo Jackson really ain't nothing. But if you watched him, you know how special he was. And that's the same thing with Bill Walton. Now, would you rank Bill Walton overall over Jokic now? No. But if we're going peak for peak, as far as what they accomplished, and who they dominated, I think Walton was better. Because let's not forget, in 2023, when Jokic did have his championship run, they beat a 7th-seeded Timberwolves team, if I remember correctly. No, what was it? An 8th-seeded Timberwolves team or something like that. I think they were 8th-seeded. They said they beat an 8th-seeded Timberwolves team. They beat a 4th-seeded Suns team, a 7th-seeded Lakers team in the conference finals, and I think an 8th-seed Miami Heat team in the finals. That's not all that impressive. Not at all. But anyway, that's all I got to say about it. Tell me what you guys think.